It is said that the water has the ability to mirror back aspects of you that you would like not to see. That never made sense to me, until the night I found myself strolling along a ship's corridor after boarding it by myself. I wasn't intoxicated or experiencing hallucinations. I am aware of what I observed. There's no turning back once you've met a version of yourself that shouldn't be there. I'm 34 years old, a freelance graphic designer based in Portland, Oregon, and my name is Ethan Cole. I'm not the type of person who typically plans cruises. Being somewhat of an introvert, I would much rather work in a coffee shop behind a laptop than socialize with strangers over pricey beverages. However, I reasoned that perhaps 7 days at sea would be purifying after a terrible breakup and months of seclusion, an opportunity to start over and escape my own thoughts. "Ethan, you need people," my sister had even joked. "If not, you'll start talking to yourself." I wish she had realized how hurtful those remarks would be. I expected forced small conversation and uncomfortable dinners when I boarded the ship. The oppressive quiet in several hallways, and the crew's avoidance of eye contact when I inquired about the ship's layout were unexpected. Furthermore, I didn't anticipate seeing a man in the corridor ahead of me dressed like me, with my posture and gait, until he turned and I noticed that I was staring at myself. I halted in the hallway, staring at the figure in front of me with my hand hovering close to the railing. He was just like myself, right down to the faded denim jacket with the tattered cuff on the right sleeve that I had brought on this trip. He was me, not just someone who looked like me. The corridor flashed with an odd change in light when I blinked, as if the ceiling lighting were stuttering. He was gone by the time they stabilized. The ship's engine was the only sound left, vibrating beneath my feet with a profound vibration. Persuaded myself that it was fatigue. Too much sun, perhaps a few drinks in the lounge earlier. However, that didn't account for the smudge his shoulder had made as he turned on the mirrored wall. I extended my hand and touched it. The temperature was warm. A pair whispered to one another across from me, the woman looking over her shoulder every few seconds. She appeared surprised, almost scared, when our eyes locked, as though she recognized me in an odd way. Later, I had trouble falling asleep in my cabin. To get some fresh air, I strolled down to the observation deck. Black waves stretched into nothing in the boundless sea. Heard footsteps at that moment, following along with mine. Slow, intentional. I turned, and he was there once more, standing beneath the dim light of a deck light, not 10 feet away. My face, my eyes. However, his expression was incorrect. Like a mask that had lost how to be human, it was hollow. With my heart pounding, I retreated toward the door. At that moment, a young man wearing a white uniform jacket emerged as a crew member. Breathless, I pointed. "Are you able to spot him?" "That's right." When I turned back, the deck was deserted. The crew members scowled and glanced beyond me. "Sir, there's no one here." Just the sound of waves, the sea, and the subtle scent of fuel and salt. The crew member's courteous grin did not extend to his eyes as he regarded me for a moment. Speaking softly as though reading from a script, he stated, "It's common to feel disoriented on long voyages." He left me alone with the darkness after saying, "Try to get some rest." I had never before experienced the depressing thought that perhaps no one else could see him, or worse, that the staff was more aware than they wanted to acknowledge. I took my phone and sat on the edge of the bed back in my cabin. I made a record. I trembled as I whispered, "If you're listening to this later, please take a moment to subscribe to Midnight Outcry. You'll want to hear the rest of this because it keeps these stories alive, because I don't know how long I'll be here to tell it." Oh, my bedside lamp flickered, only once. Then I noticed movement, a figure standing behind me in the shadowy reflection of the glass door of the cabin. Whenever I closed my eyes, I pictured him waiting just outside the door. Even though the light bulb flickered and buzzed softly, as if it may expire at any moment, I kept the lamp on. I found myself staring at my own clothing as if they were no longer mine, as if he had worn them before me, while my bag lay open on the floor. I believed I may have dreamed it all by morning. Sharp, anchoring sunlight streamed through the blinds. I made myself go through the motions, breakfast, shower, and balcony walk. That was the final thing I would typically do that day. I saw him again in the buffet when I went for a plate of scrambled eggs. This time, not across the room. He was sliding a plate onto the counter, directly next to me. He touched me with his hand. It jolted up my arm and was clammy and frigid. The spoon fell to the ground with a clatter. He had already started to move away through the passenger line when I wheeled toward him, prepared to yell. Nobody seems to notice. Chatter and the clinking of plates. With my pulse pounding, I ran after him down a hallway. But it felt more wrong the farther I got. My breathing sounded strange, like if the air were too dense, and he came to a stop at the end of the hallway. He turned his head slowly, and I noticed that my own face was grinning back at me. "Who are you?" With a cracked voice, I yelled. He didn't respond. He entered one of the cabins instead. The door shut. It wasn't locked, so I hurried forward and grabbed the handle. However, the room was deserted. No bedspread, no luggage, nothing except bare walls like a cabin in progress. And there was a pair of shoes sitting motionless in the center of the floor. My footwear. I almost tripped over myself as I staggered back. Those exact sneakers were in my cabin closet, and I knew it. With my heart pounding, I raced back to my room. They were there as he threw open the door. The shoes, within the closet. Fry, within the closet. Mau epstri id. Idstri ipshoes, within the closet. Just how I had left them. Why? I was trembling so badly that I could hardly stand and grab the door frame for support. I wasn't going crazy. I couldn't be. However, the ship itself appeared to be forming itself to fit his presence, bending about him. I visited the guest services desk that evening. The woman at the counter gave a courteous grin. I informed her that someone on the ship was posing as me. I went into great length about him. Her pen stopped mid-scribble, but her smile remained constant. "Are you certain that you're feeling good?" Desperate for her to comprehend, I spoke louder. I observed him. I was touched by him. At that moment, I saw the security guy approach with his hand softly resting on his radio. His gaze remained fixed on mine. His gaze remained fixed on mine. People were staring at each other in the lobby. I felt the heat creep up my neck. "Some passengers find the long nights disorienting," the receptionist said, leaning closer and speaking more softly. "For a while, I advise you to stay away from mirrors." Mirrors? Why would she say that? With every nerve in my body strained, I slammed the door shut when I got back to my cabin. I tried to breathe after pouring a glass of water and placing it on the nightstand. However, I noticed the reflection in the dark window when I raised it to take a sip. Once more, he was standing behind me. It's closer this time. And grinning more broadly, the glass broke on the floor after slipping out of my grasp. I couldn't sit and couldn't concentrate clearly, so I paced the cottage. Every reflection I saw, whether it was from the TV screen, the dresser's chrome handle, or even the black glass of the balcony door, appeared to be lagging behind me and moving a little more slowly than I was. I tried not to go to sleep that night, but fatigue prevailed. I fell asleep, only to be startled awake by the sound of my cabin door opening. I froze and sat up. The handle swung around. The door creaked open slowly, and I saw him in the dim light of the hall. He moved with a coolness that was nearly worse than violence, as if he belonged within. His smile was too big as his head cocked toward me. Then he folded his hands neatly and slipped into the desk chair. My own demeanor, but without the warmth. He remained silent. He simply sat there and observed me. My throat constricted as if something were crushing against it when I attempted to yell. I finally pushed out, "What are you looking for?" No response, just a sluggish blink. I started to gasp as the cabin's air became thicker and heavier. My vision became hazy. Desperate for evidence, I snatched my phone from the nightstand and struggled to activate the camera. I lifted it, and the screen displayed me alone in the room. However, I wasn't by myself. I ran barefoot along the corridor and ran for the door. As I went by, several crew members looked up, but none of them intervened. They seemed to have anticipated this. I sprinted till I came to the atrium, a large room filled with chandeliers. I froze as I noticed a mirror on the distant wall. The passengers passed by on its surface as usual, but my reflection was no longer pursuing me. It was moving independently. The duplicate stopped, turned from behind the glass to face me, and held up a hand. He pressed his palm to the mirror slowly and methodically. There were gasps in the lobby. A few yelled and chairs fell to the ground. However, their faces became blurry when I looked to them for assistance, pleading with them to see what I saw. Except for his, all of them blurred. He sprang forward and threw me to the ground. I was stronger than him, but he was more deliberate and in control. His hands pressed tight around my throat, and the weight disappeared as black specks appeared in my eyesight. I looked up at the ceiling and blinked. There was nobody in the atrium. Not a single traveler. I was lying on the marble floor by myself. However, I wasn't lying motionless. Another body shifted across from me, getting to its feet. My body, my face. After taking off his jacket, he gave me a pitying look and turned to go. I screamed, but it didn't come out. I had lost my voice. I lost strength. And the reflection staring back at me wasn't mine anymore when I eventually slithered over to the mirror to get myself up. He owned it. I can't recall how much time I spent sitting there and gazing at that strange reflection. The image smirked back, calm, almost triumphant, but my palms shook against the cool mirror surface. I was no longer myself. I was left trapped in a hollow replica of myself by whatever had walked away in my skin. The ship continued as though nothing had occurred. There was a faint sound of music coming from the lounge, and the casino floor was filled with laughter. I stumbled into the hallways, wishing that someone, anybody, would see me. Every passenger I went by, however, brushed by me as if I didn't exist. I yelled, seized weapons, and pounded my fists against walls. Nobody recoiled. Nobody even raised their eyes. It seemed as though I had vanished. I staggered back into my cabin at last. Without my having to touch it, the door behind me clicked shut. My belongings were gone. My phone, clothes, and bag were all tastefully replaced with non-mine. He was pictured with strangers in the pictures on the nightstand. The crew is grinning. The passengers were giggling, with him, everyone. He seemed to have been here the entire time. Once more, I dashed to the mirror. I believed I saw myself, the real me, staring back for a heartbeat. Fearful, desperate, hammering to escape. I touched the glass with my palms. My image grinned. After that, the room's lights turned out. Now, with trembling hands, I'm writing this on a notepad I discovered stuffed in the desk drawer. If you're listening to my story, it indicates that even if I didn't say anything, it nevertheless got out. Perhaps he wanted you to know that he let them get away with it. Don't turn around if you ever find yourself on a cruise and notice your reflection staring at you for too long. Avoid testing it, because it doesn't go away after it leaves. Furthermore, no one will remember you.